Hey everyone, and welcome to this first video from Gilbert's LLP. My name is Chad Betteridge, a librarian at the firm, and today I have the great privilege of sitting down with the man himself, Tim Gilbert, to talk about the early stages of his career. But that's not all. There's plenty more where that came from. Tim is full of stories, and there's going to be a lot of content on this channel in the weeks to come. So, if you'd like to be a part of that, please don't hesitate to click the subscription and notification buttons down below so that you will be notified every time new content goes live on this channel. But without further ado, let's get into it for today. Tim, thank you so much for sitting down to talk with me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Tim, for those who might not be familiar with you or might be familiar with you but not familiar with your background, let's talk about your origin story, as it were. Can you map out the early years of your career and walk us through how you got here?
Sure. I'm in somewhat a failure as a vet. I want to be a veterinarian and be a gentleman farmer. That was the idea until I found out how much work there was involved in being a real scientist. So I pursued liberal arts. I pursued work in government. I came back and I became a lawyer, thinking I would still be some form of entrepreneur. Along the way, I discovered what a great pleasure it was and privilege it was to be a lawyer and use the gift that I had of the gab to help people. So I started at a big firm, and that was Goodman's in Toronto, full service operation. And I embraced everything I could get my hands on and had great training. Along the way, I worked with a company out of Toronto that was very aggressive in the pharmaceutical world. And that company is Apotex. It was so-called the bad boy of the pharmaceutical industry in that it genericized products and brought them to market much cheaper than the original brand name products. And there were epic battles going on. I found that to be very rewarding in one way, but also exhausting. I worked incredible hours, and I felt all the time there had to be both something more to life, and I wanted really a broad training. At that time, I looked around the market and I thought about doing almost like day duty in court, getting my hands on anything I could just to get into court and hone my skills as a trial lawyer. I joined up with Alan Lenzner and Ronald Slatt, two great litigators, as well as three other partners out of a big firm, McCarthy's, when I first started at Lenzner Slatt. And I was the first associate there. It was crazy working for five very busy people. Of course, now it's a much bigger operation. And I just took whatever came my way. Alan would come in the morning and say, "Hey, Timmy, you're going off to court. You're fighting for whatever it would be, a hotel receivership, defending the honor of a friend of his whose mother fell downstairs." And my first trial was a slip and fall. But I embraced it and embraced every opportunity I could. And along the way, this passing familiarity and interest in pharmaceuticals and access to medicines came back on referrals. Referrals from my former firm, which is a credit, and referral from now a federal court judge, or I guess he's retired, but Justice Hughes, in an interesting area to me, which was regulatory law. And that was, how do you bring products to life? How do you get them not just be so-called a cost center to a company, but help them enter into the market and see the endemic moment of freedom when they can sell products. So it was an interesting pathway because it hadn't really been a thing in law. It was kind of like an oddball practice area. But what it led me to was pursuing for Apotex and the general public access to the American market, which had been frustrated by multiple pieces of litigation, multiple patents preventing products from getting to market. And I'm not an American litigator. So everyone said, "What are you doing helping this company get to market?" And my answer was, well, I'm looking for a pathway. I'm looking for a creative strategy that would break through the barriers and allow the sale of a product that otherwise met approval from all the regulatory authorities. And despite the teams of lawyers working in America on the issue, they hadn't been able to get through. So I developed what's called a legislative pathway, a regulatory pathway, where we literally brought a campaign to change the law. Ended up going to Congress and pursuing a form of advocacy which was different, advocating in front of media, advocating in front of consumer groups, building a coalition to affect change. And so what that led me to was somewhat a further oddball. I was a Canadian lawyer in an American, not just court, but American Congress, even further afield from where I was. And I was getting pressure from my firm saying, what in God's name are you doing? And to me, I felt that I had to go out my own to do this work, which was out of the box for sure. So I left and started my own firm in 2001 with literally briefcase and cell phone, and calling it Gilbert's, because with an apostrophe S, because I was the only Gilbert at the time. It was a effect you normally call people Goodmans or Tories or this type of thing, and we were Gilbert's with an apostrophe S, and set up shop in the iconic Flatiron building in Toronto. That was a deliberate choice because I felt we wanted to be out of the box and different, and all the big firms were in towers downtown Toronto, still are. And the Flatiron building in Toronto is the most filmed building in Canada, I think. Very interesting. The windows open, multiple floors, and that led to us attracting a lot of top clients and top talent coming to our firm. And of course, with these kind of people and this effort and this creativity, it did lead to getting a call from the White House saying, can you come to the Rose Garden? And we are going to pass regulatory pathway and legislation preventing the frustration of generic companies getting to market. So that to me was kind of a signature accomplishment. It spoke a lot about being an entrepreneur. It spoke a lot about taking risks and also benefiting the public in a huge way. So that was the genesis of the Gilbert's law firm right there.
When you first launched Gilbert's, what were you hoping to do or achieve?
Well, at the time, I felt that there was a kind of a gap in the market, that people weren't looking at problem solving the same way. We weren't really, I wanted to use advocacy skills to help people in front of government. I saw there's this unique interface between private sector who didn't quite understand what government's issues were and the government who didn't understand the private sector. So that was the genesis. The litigation went along with the kind of companies we were interested in. And that is, they're idea-based companies, they're innovators. And if you're an innovator, you either want to protect your ideas. And so I saw an opportunity there. Although I've spent a lot of my career on the generic side of the business, I saw an opportunity on the reverse side because I was never that doctrinaire about this. I wasn't some kind of a cause person. That was, one key battle, but I saw the other side, which was unless we have incentives to support innovation, there weren't going to be new products and new opportunities coming out. So, and the investment wouldn't come in to support research. So we developed kind of a litigation group that looked at things equally. We're one of the few firms out there that support both sides of this type of battle on patents. And I saw an opportunity to build a creative group of people who helped innovators, going with where the market goes, going with where the opportunities are, rather than saying, there's going to be great opportunity in AI one day. I didn't know that in 2001, but certainly as science and as industry gets there, we're along with them. So we built a team. I think that was the other key component. The head of Apotex, who's now deceased, was this character to me, but great man in many ways, Barry Sherman, who brought me into his office when I first said I'm leaving and said, I want to speak to you. And I was kind of trembling because he was an important, supporter of mine. And He said, I will give you, this is very valuable work, I will give you the work on one condition. And I said, okay, what's that? And he said, you must build a team. This is too complex. This is too, like, there's a lot at stake, and you need to have talented people around you. And that, with that, I was like a guided missile. Yes, absolutely, I will build a team. And had the philosophy with that building and these opportunities, if you build it, they will come. And along the way, we've been blessed with having great people. And I think that's the critical component to the success of any firm. It's the talent within, and the esprit de corps that goes along with it. So I think it was to build a team, creative people, open to opportunity, based on this, boutique, innovation-driven companies, and that's what we've done.
So what do you envision for the future of the firm? What changes do you see coming in the coming years or even decades?
Well, we're going to go back to our roots. We'd left the Flatiron building, which was a crazy building, right? The Flatiron building had old elevators, the oldest elevator in Canada, I believe. It still operated manual elevator, and we had great stories of being in a competition for work. They're called beauty contests, and big company out of the States was there, and we took them down in the elevator. We got stuck in the elevator, and there we were for over an hour and a half, until the Toronto Fire Department fished us out of the elevator. And I didn't hear from these people for a long time. And I thought, geez, out of interest, I'm sure we lost the work. I know that, but I just wondered, where did it go? I spoke to the guy, and he said, oh, it's going to you. I said, oh my God, I hadn't heard me. He said, oh, it takes time to get these things through. But he said, that was unforgettable, that experience of being there and really getting to know you. So things like that happened. It was a magical place to me. And then we went, because of growth, it's almost, growth can kill you. We had almost too many people. And we went to the tower, and to many people that was great. Now you're in a big tower downtown Toronto, you're wearing the big boy pants, so to speak, of being a lawyer, Bay Street lawyer for Canada. And we were kind of, to me, like every other firm. They're all in big towers, and it did worry me. And we lost some of that. And we've had, now, after 10 years there, an opportunity came to us to do something different. And where we're going is, we're going to an iconic building called the Waterfront Innovation Center on Sugar Beach in Toronto. And what's going to be housed there is the Mars Innovation Center, taking 50,000 square feet, bringing in entrepreneurs, bringing in scientists, bringing in engineers, and kind of that startup philosophy. And so I see us being on the early stage company side, helping innovators through to the big suit, where there's a lot at stake, and you're fighting over fairly significant territory. We've created a special model for this called Slingshot for the early entrepreneurs, which is a subscription-based legal services model that allows companies to spread over the legal spend over the course of the year, getting access to precedents that we maintain, keeping costs low for them in that key time where they're trying to build their company and don't want to get burned up by legal costs, but also don't want to do it wrong and get caught up by problems, whether it be IP problems or litigation issues. So I see the two sides of that happening for us, is continuing to work with innovators at the early stage and tackling what are the biggest, most complex problems of the day. So that's our plan. And the building is somewhat deliberate too. The choice, it's on Sugar Beach. A lot of thought has gone into work-life balance. You're close to the waterfront trail. You're on the water. It brings a smile to your face when you walk in. I think it's incredibly important to people that they have the enjoyment of where they work. We've all gone through this COVID nightmare, whatever, Groundhog Day. People are cautious about going out, but they're really, I can just see it. There's a pent up demand to collaborate and work with people again, not just on this Zoom thing that we're doing now, but one-on-one mentorship of young people. How do you learn? If you're not side by side, it's, we're doing our best to try that. But I think with this presence, it will be a place that people want to come to and enjoy being at. And it will be a center for collaboration of a whole bunch of people from around the world, right there on and kind of the new center ice being, the waterfront. So that, again, where it takes us, nobody knows exactly. I think it takes us where people and the companies we work with take us.
Tim, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you.